gentlemen, to Mike on the mic. I am your host, Michael Tisha, and I will be here for the next 15 minutes giving you guys everything you need to know about the NFL season. Week 1 coming up, starting tomorrow, and I'm very excited. I'm very glad that the NFL is back. It was a very long, vigorous off season, and a lot took place. A lot of new rules been put in. A lot of guys exploring some new job opportunities. Guys going into MMA, guys, just maybe just doing out of the ordinary stuff that they never would have been able to experience because of playing football. But now they're back. Preseason's over, and the season is going to kick off tomorrow night in Lambeau Field with the Green Bay Packers, my favorite team, and they'll be playing and defending their Super Bowl title. So it's going to be an interesting game as they face the New Orleans Saints, and we'll dive right into that in this show. Now, what's interesting about this upcoming season is that we're not used to having such a long break, and it's going to be interesting to see if guys can hang in there for an entire season. Guys maybe didn't take care of their bodies as well as they usually do, and they need to be able to try to get back into that football form that they have missed for a couple months because of the lockout. So it's going to be interesting to see. And we got a lot of matchups on tap for this week, and a lot of interesting ones. Some news just coming in from a few days. Today it broke on ESPN that Peyton Manning will not be playing Week 1, so his consecutive game streak will be snapped. So for any Brett Favre fans out there, you won't have to worry about anybody coming close to his consecutive game streak just yet, because Peyton will be out. He is ruled out for Week 1. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with David Garrard. Getting released by the Jaguars is a very iffy move. You get rid of your starter who's been there for a couple of years. Obviously, he was there when he backed up Byron Leftwich. And, I think a lot of guys in that locker room were torn because that was really the go-to guy. David Garrard did a lot for that organization. He was a tough competitor, and in my opinion, he's one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the league. So a lot of teams will be looking for him. I think you'll see guys like the Falcons, for a backup. Um, Other teams, because you really want to be able to have an experienced backup there, if not starter. And the teams obviously that would be starting, looking for starters, the Dolphins, um, possibly the Chiefs. Now that Matt Castle has been banged up a little bit, you don't know how he's going to react. Minnesota, you never know what's going to happen with Donovan McNabb, so maybe they're a possible give them a look. Indianapolis, I know that Peyton Manning, like I told you guys, is out, and who knows what's going to happen with Kerry Collins there. Seattle is another team that I've been hearing, and I wouldn't be surprised, maybe even Washington, if they give Garrard a look. Um, so he'll have a lot of options. I think that he will be able to find a starting job, but if not, it is always good to have an experienced backup. That'll come into play throughout the year because you need to make sure that there's someone behind your starter, just in case he does get hurt, that knows the offense, that knows the system, and can come in there and win. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with David Garrard, and I think any team that gets him is going to get a solid quarterback that enjoys playing football and goes out there and will give it his all, day in and day out. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. So I'm just looking at the games here and looking at a few things, and obviously, like I said, tomorrow night is a big one to kick off the season in Lambeau Field. The Green Bay Packers defending their Super Bowl title at home against the New Orleans Saints, the last two Super Bowl winners playing against one another. I think it'll be an interesting game to watch. I think that the Packers, now that they're getting healthy, they're getting the entire team is pretty much back there. They have a young nucleus of guys that have played in big games. Um, Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is there, and then you get guys back like Jermichael Finley and Ryan Grant, who can jump right in there, and they obviously, they won't miss a beat, I don't believe. And they'll be going up against a Saint team that is a little bit revamped. They got Drew Brees is still there, but adding Mark Ingram in the draft, I think, is a very good pickup for them. I think they can that he adds a very nice running game to their offense that's basically made to be high powered. Obviously, getting rid of Reggie Bush and what was it, Pierre, is going to be a little bit of a downfall for them. But I think Mark Ingram can carry the load for them. and it'll be interesting to see what they do with their offense. I think that game's going to be an exciting one. I think the Packers are very excited to return to play football and to get back at it. And I'm looking forward to a great atmosphere. Hopefully, like I said before the show, I'm a huge Packer fan, and I would love to see them go 16-0 and win another Super Bowl. But that's being very, very optimistic and hopeful. But I think they are ready for another great season, and that'll be interesting to see what happens. And we'll talk more about that game later on. I'm looking at a few more games here that are very thrilling games in Week 1. Right away, Atlanta and Chicago. There's another great matchup. Atlanta obviously did a great job last year. Played well in the regular season. Um, they played well at home all season. Their offense was explosive. Now they added Julio Jones in the draft to go alongside Robbie White. Gives Matt Ryan another weapon, which is very, very dangerous. I think they need to look a little bit more on defense and try to put things together a little bit there, because that was exposed a lot last year. They had guys, their linebackers were having trouble covering guys. They had a tough time tackling, so they struggled a little bit there. I think their defense, if they can just get that core together and put it together and be solid consistently, they could be a very, very dangerous team in the NFC. And then they're playing against the Bears, who a lot of people have questioned the heart of Jay Cutler because of the way the NFC Championship game went, where he just didn't come back in because of the knee tweak. But I guess I'm not one to question some guys' toughness. I think Jay Cutler is a very good quarterback. So if he was hurt enough not to be able to come back in there, I'm sure he was legitimately hurt. Um, they have a great defense, so it'll be interesting to see how they go about playing Atlanta, how they guard those two receivers on the outside. Chicago's secondary at times is very shaky. They have a great linebacking core, and that's been their key to stop the running game. They have a great linebacking core in Briggs and Urlacher, who have done a great job throughout the years stopping the run and guarding guys. And speaking of Lance Briggs, is actually interesting that he wants out of Chicago, which is very interesting to me. They haven't really said much about it, but I've seen reports about Lance Briggs wanting out of Chicago. He's not feeling that he's, I guess, getting the right money, or he's not getting the deal for a contract that he wants. And these guys are playing for a lot now, especially when they get older. They want to make sure that they want to get theirs, and it's a bad way to look at it, but it's true, and that's how a lot of things happen now, and it's tough, but that's what it's looking like. Lance Brick does want out, so we'll see what happens there, how he goes and plays throughout the season. Um, Another game that I think is going to be interesting: Philadelphia and St. Louis. Everybody is on the edge of their seats, waiting to see what happens with the Eagles. They are the Miami Heat of the NFL, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how they come together as a team and play. I think they have a ton of speed, both offensively and defensively. I think that their offense with Vic, if they can keep him healthy, which has been a problem at times for them, they've had a rough time protecting Michael Vick, and he's taken a lot of hits in the preseason, and that's not a good sign for any team, not just the Eagles, but for any team. If you can't protect your quarterback, then you're in for a rude awakening in the NFL. You're in for a very, very rude awakening, because your franchise guys are going to be getting knocked down and getting hurt, and it's going to be tough for you to win football games with Michael Vick sitting on the bench. But they do have a good backup in Vince Young, who's proved himself slightly in the NFL. Hasn't done much, but he's proven that he could at least win, and he's not a bad backup to have. But they have a ton of speed up and down with Macklin and Jackson on the outsides. Now they added Steve Smith from the Giants. They also added Ronnie Brown to help their running game, so him and McCoy are going to be a dynamic little duo there. With the whole Wildcat offense that they run in there, they could be a very, very dangerous offense if they can protect Michael Vick. If your quarterback can't throw the ball when his back is on the ground. And then obviously defensively for them, adding Nnamdi Asomugha has been a big thing for them. They also added Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, and they also have Asante Samuel. So they're going to be a tough group to throw on. One thing I question with the Eagles is their linebacking core and how they handle, teams that have good tight ends. If you look throughout the league, you got the Falcons, the Packers, um, who else we have here in the NFC? The Lions, Tampa Bay, um, guys that have, Minnesota with Shanko, guys that have experienced tight ends that can s- spread the field and get over the middle. You know, you might be able to shut down the outside receivers as much as you can, but it's going to be a little bit tougher when a team can get time for their quarterback and look down the middle of the field and hit their tight ends. So it's going to be interesting to see how physical their linebackers can be and if they can really cover. So that will be something that the Eagles will have to look at this year, coming up. Also just looking down the paper here of all the games and the injuries and whatnot. I think the Pittsburgh-Baltimore games, those are always fun to watch. Always defensive battles, back and forth, guys just killing each other. Always low-scoring games. I was looking at a few things for fantasy as far as who to play. Mendenhall, do I play Rice? Back and forth with those things. Very low-scoring games throughout their history of the past few years. Some 16-10, 10-7, 10-3. The highest scoring game I think it was like 24-16. So not much scoring, a lot of defense in those games. So those are always interesting to watch. Um, and then obviously, the Peyton Manning situation, they have to play the Titans. Excuse me, they have to play the Texans, and it's going to be interesting to see how that Cole offense gels without Peyton Manning because you've seen Reggie Wayne already come out and I don't want to say throw Kerry Collins under the bus, but he's said that he doesn't know how good this move is going to be for them and how this offense isn't, an easy one to grasp and not just anybody can come in here and get the job done. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Kerry Collins is an experienced quarterback. Judging by preseason, he can still throw the ball pretty well. So we'll see what happens, and Kerry Collins really has to prove himself to his teammates. I feel that he can win games with them. I believe they're going to heavily, get a load of Joseph Adai and try to get him involved to try to help Kerry Collins to take some of that pressure off of him. Dallas and the Jet game Sunday night is going to be a fun one to watch to see if Jason Garrett. This is his first year as as he's going to have an entire season as a head coach. Last year, obviously, he took over for Wade Phillips and did a very good job bringing Dallas back and winning some ball games there. And then the Monday night games, New England and Miami and Oakland and Denver. So there's a lot of fun games, and I'm glad football is back. It's going to be a great season, I believe, and I think there's a lot of teams out there looking to prove themselves, and it's going to be interesting to see all the way to the end. I'm running out of time here for this week, so I'm just going to run down the games and who I think is going to win. I'm going to give you my winners. Saints Packers, I'm taking the Packers. I'm taking the Falcons on the road against Chicago. I'm taking Cleveland at home against Cincinnati. Buffalo on the road at Kansas City. Philly on the road at St. Louis. I'm taking Tampa Bay at home against Detroit. I'm taking Tennessee on the road against Jacksonville. I'm taking Baltimore at home against Pittsburgh. Houston at home against the Colts. I'm taking Arizona at home against Carolina and Cam Newton's first start. I'm going to be taking San Diego at home against Minnesota. San Fran at home against Seattle. The Giants on the road at Washington. The Jets at home against Dallas. The Patriots on the road in Miami. And Denver at home against Oakland. So there you have it this week. It's going to be fun. Football's back. I hope everyone has a great weekend, a safe one, and enjoys it. And before I go, I just want to also say that this weekend will be the 10th year anniversary of September 11th. And I think that everyone should be very thankful for the men and women serving across the country for the United States. They've done a phenomenal job for us keeping our freedom and fighting for our rights out there. And I know a lot of people don't like the war, and like the war. They do. Regardless of that, I just want to take my hat off and I'm very proud to be an American and have the men and women fighting for our rights over there. And for all the families that have lost members during September 11th, my thoughts and prayers go out to all of you. May you all have a safe, healthy September 11th weekend and enjoy football because I will, and I'll be seeing you guys next week.